It's 5 p.m. here in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's take you on a journey around the world in the next hour. I'm Joke Rogers. Here's what's coming up on the world today of the October 7th attack. Plus, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris holds campaign rally in Michigan, criticizes former President Donald Trump's economic plans. In Europe, hundreds of protesters have continued an anti-immigration rally across the UK. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the UK did not see the disorder that many feared the night before because police were deployed in large numbers to the right places. According to Met Police Commissioner Mark Rowley, fears of far-right violent disorder were abated earlier this week. While authorities welcome the peace, police say they have intelligence that more protests are planned over the next few days. The arrest follows the fatal stabbing of 3 girls in Southport, fueled by misinformation online that the suspect was an asylum seeker.
To stand up against fascism, against hate. When you see the kind of rhetoric that's coming from governments of all colours about refugees and about votes, I'm Irish. You talk to anybody over there with the fascists, here with the decent people. We're all immigrant in some shape or form, and we're against hate, and we won't go away. We will come out every single time that it's needed and stand together, and we will beat fascism into the gutter where it belongs. The 3 children that died, may they rest in peace. The fascists are looking for an excuse to get angry. We saw that they had no interest in sympathy or empathy for the families. They were just looking for an excuse to riot, to piss on monuments, and to attack anybody who's different to them. The person who committed that atrocity was not Muslim and was not an immigrant.
Meanwhile, more than 3 men have been charged with violent disorder in Manchester following the anti-immigration riots, and 1 charged with criminal damage. 2 men have also been jailed for 2 years and 8 months by the Liverpool Crown Court over the Southport protests. 43-year-old John O'Malley bagged 32 months for violent disorder over the riot outside a Southport mosque on 30th of July, the day after the stabbing. The judge says Mr. O'Malley was at the front of what was essentially a baying mob, throwing bricks and wheelie bins. The second man, 69-year-old William Morgan, bagged 32 months for violent disorder and 6 months for possessing an offensive weapon after joining with the riots in Liverpool at the weekend. According to the National Police Chiefs Council, the total number of arrests made in relation to the violent disorder now stands at 483. Politics in the U.S. now. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has held yet another campaign rally, this time in the U.S. state of Michigan. Ms. Harris used the opportunity to slam former President Donald Trump's economic plans, saying if he's elected, he intends to cut Social Security and medical care.
I'm here because we believe in democracy. I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. So Project 2025. Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking. We're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not going back because we know what that would look like.
Over in South America, the president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, has delivered thousands of new rifles to security forces mobilized in Duran, reportedly one of the most violent cities in the country. Local media reports that this is for the country's ongoing anti-drug trafficking operations. Hundreds of police officers met with the president, receiving and holding the weapons. President Noboa says the country is fighting tirelessly against narco-terrorist groups and would remain steadfast in the fight against the mafias. Over 1,556 caliber rifles, as well as 30 high precision or 5.56 rifles and high precision rifles were delivered to 1,752 to strengthen the local police capacity to continue to conduct anti-drug trafficking operations. A record of 145.43 murders per 100,000 inhabitants were reported last year in Duran, which is heavily targeted by drug trafficking gangs due to its proximity to the ports of Guayaquil and Posoya. The crackdown comes ahead of the Ecuadorian general elections in 2025.
A la entrega simbólica de este armamento, la señora ministra del Interior y el señor comandante general de la Policía Nacional.
We're in Africa now, where there's upheaval again in Tunisia, where the president, Kais Saied, has dismissed Prime Minister Ahmed Khachani after just 1 year in office. In his place, he has appointed the Minister of Social Affairs, Kamel Maduri. Mr. Khachani had expressed that the government had achieved progress on several fronts despite challenges related to high food and energy prices just hours to his removal. The dismissal is happening amid widespread dissatisfaction with the ongoing water shortage and electricity outages across the country. Mr. Saied perceives the water shortages as a conspiracy ahead of the presidential election, asserting that the dams are actually at full capacity, while the Agriculture Ministry insists the dam level is critically low at 25%. Elsewhere, UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk is calling for an end to the conflict in Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions. In his words, no stone should be left unturned in efforts to silence the guns and bring this untenable crisis to an end. He is also asking for those responsible for human rights violations to be brought to book. In both regions of Cameroon, protests erupted in 2016 before turning into an armed conflict between separatist groups, other armed groups and security forces. This has left thousands killed, hundreds of thousands displaced, and more than 700,000 children denied education. During his visit, the High Commissioner met with senior government officials, including Prime Minister Joseph Dion Ngute, members of a wide range of political parties, and members of the diplomatic corps, as well as U.S. entities.
I also called on Cameroon to accelerate adoption of comprehensive legislation on violence against women and to revise the penal code to ensure access to justice and other essential services for victims. Harmful practices, including forced or early marriage, sexual harassment, rape, and sexual mutilation, must be vigorously tackled. Inequalities and unlawful discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, religion, linguistic origin, sexual orientation, and other grounds need to be eliminated.
In response to the spread of mpox beyond the Democratic Republic of Congo and the risk of further international transmission within and outside of Africa, the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, has announced an emergency committee under international health regulations. According to reports, the variant is highly infectious, allowing it to spread rapidly among individuals, prompting serious concern from WHO experts. The committee will advise him on whether the outbreak constitutes a public health emergency of international concern. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced last week that Mpox has been identified in 10 African nations this year, with DR Congo accounting for over 96% of all cases and fatalities. According to the Africa CDC, nearly 70% of the cases in Congo are among children aged 15 and younger, and these children make up 85% of the deaths.
That have not reported since the beginning of this year. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has been experiencing a severe outbreak of Mpox, with more than 14,000 reported cases and 511 deaths. Outbreaks of Mpox have been reported in DRC for decades, and the number of cases reported each year has been increasing steadily. However, the number of cases reported in the first 6 months of this year match the number reported in all of last year, and the virus has spread to previously unaffected provinces. In the past month, about 50 confirmed and more suspected cases have been reported in 4 countries neighboring the DRC that have not reported before: Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. WHO is working with the governments of the affected countries, the Africa CDC, NGOs, civil society, and other partners to understand and address the drivers of these outbreaks. Stopping transmission will require a comprehensive response with communities at the center. WHO has standing recommendations on Mpox, which include advice not to impose travel restrictions on affected countries.
Welcome back to the show. Here in Nigeria, the Lagos state government is taking significant strides in the fight against hepatitis, launching comprehensive initiatives to curb the spread of the virus. At a symposium marking World Hepatitis Day, the permanent secretary of the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Oboye, outlines the state's efforts, including subsidized hepatitis C testing, vaccination of residents, and extensive community outreach programs.
Selected medical experts in the public and private sector converge on Folarin Koka Staff Clinic, Alausa Ikeja, for the 2024 World Hepatitis Day Symposium organized by the Lagos State Ministry of Health.
The importance of collaboration in achieving our shared goals.
Hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver, most commonly caused by a viral infection, and there are 5 main hepatitis viruses referred to as types A, B, C, D, and E, according to the World Health Organization. Hepatitis is the second leading infectious disease which accounts for over 1.3 million deaths yearly, a critical health issue the state government is not taking lightly.
The recent survey, or let me say assessment that was done locally by the states puts the states at the prevalent level of about 5% for hepatitis B and about 1.1% for hepatitis C too.
A consultant gastroenterologist at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Rufina Igete, explains that about 90 to 95% of Nigerians acquire the infection in childhood, either through the placenta from an infected mother or childhood spread. Dr. Rufina urges residents to get tested and be vaccinated.
Sometimes within the first 8 weeks of the infection, or even within the first 4 weeks of the infection, somebody can come down with acute liver failure, and that can be life-threatening. There are other things that we do for pregnant mothers who have hepatitis B virus infection. Okay, once they are pregnant, we always suggest they come to us in the 3rd trimester. Because in the 3rd trimester, now WHO says treat, so that you can reduce viral load.
A survivor of HBV narrates how she found out about her health challenge.
Though I have heard about this hepatitis and every other thing, but the classmate of mine actually died of this virus last year. And due to the final year exams and everything, we the friends, we didn't go to check ourselves. Had it been I have done my then, maybe it would have led me to the incident that happened last month. And I don't feel like I'm a survivor, I can say that.
The state government says the awareness program aims to inform citizens about how to get help and reduce hepatitis figure in Lagos.
In Lagos State, we have about 29 general hospitals. You could walk into any of those general hospitals that you want to know your status. And if you are tested, you are negative, you get vaccinated. So as part of our commitment in the state is to create that heightened awareness.
The permanent secretary of the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Olusegun Ogboye, says government will be expanding its awareness program to curtail the spread of hepatitis.
The estimated 2 million Lagosians living with viral hepatitis B and 200,000 living with viral hepatitis C are largely undiagnosed, increasing the likelihood of future transmission to unsuspecting members of society. Individuals infected with hepatitis who are yet to present at any health facility remain undetected, untreated, and infectious. Informed by these insights, we're embarking on bold initiatives to curtail hepatitis. Our strategy involves comprehensive awareness programs targeting the 3 senatorial districts within the state.
Medical experts say hepatitis is preventable and controllable only when it is detected early for treatment.
In South Africa, motorists are increasingly opting for more affordable Chinese vehicles over traditional German luxury brands like BMW, Mercedes, and Audi. By next year, Chinese cars are projected to account for approximately 20% of all new car sales. This shift is impacting established brands which are now competing across a range of market segments, from hatchbacks to luxury SUVs and electric vehicles. According to Chief Economist of Efficient Group, Darwi Rott, the rise of Chinese brands is transforming the automotive industry, providing consumers with more choices of competitive pricing.
What is clear is that South African consumers are moving more to buying cars like, for example, Chinese-made cars and also South Korean-made cars, and there are very good reasons for that. One is that the South African consumer is under a lot of pressure, and they simply cannot afford very expensive cars anymore. But there are some other reasons as well. One is that the quality of cars coming from South Korea and China as well improved quite significantly recently. And there are many reasons for that also. One is that the various industries get significant support from their governments, but something else is that the industries are simply getting more mature. And that means that they are producing better quality cars. At the moment, though, although Chinese cars are much better priced than, say, the equivalent German cars, for example, the quality is just not up to their standards yet, but that is soon happening. In the meantime, they are significantly cheaper than German cars, as an example. I think that the Western car manufacturing companies will come under increasing pressure from the likes of the Chinese, as an example.
China boasts of more than 3,000 universities and colleges spread across the country, with over 14 million students enrolled in mainland China. These institutions of higher learning, which attract even international students, churn out graduates every year who will either join the workforce or return to their countries to be effective. Ifeanyi Ismail Okoro is one of those international students studying in China. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, tells us more.
There are currently over 1.4 billion people living in China, and about 61.3% of that population are people between the ages of 16 to 59 years. This means that the institutions of higher learning across the country are brimming with young minds, even though they say there's still room for more, especially from Africa. Ifeanyi Ismail Okoro is a young Nigerian who's been living in China for about 5 years. He resumed admission into Hunan Normal University in 2019 to study international business, economics, and trade. Now he's settled in China, helping to run the family business from here.
Due to the partnership that I and my family have been having with so many company here in China, and all the Chinese culture, the way they accept foreigners, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, 100% assurance I can give you is that in regarding of anything that brought you to China, you must surely get it 100%.
He's not the only success story China displays so proudly. These other African students testify to how studying in China has changed their perception of the Chinese.
Particularly, I'm impressed at how China has leveraged its rich cultural heritage for amazing developmental achievements. This is something worth emulating. Bao Yu, Zhongguozhen Mei. This is how my teacher inspired me to further my studies in China. I accepted the challenge to come and experience it for myself.
My love in China, in Hunan Normal University, has been absolutely unforgettable experience. Not only I have deepened my knowledge of translation, the Chinese language, the history, and also the culture, but I also have participated in many international conferences and studies.
Vice President, Director of the Social Sciences Base for China-Africa Cultural Cooperation and Exchange in Hunan Province, Ms. Zhu Shu, makes a case for why Nigerian students should consider studying in China.
Our university will continue to integrate and work hard to promote China-Africa cooperation in the following areas. The first area, establishing high-end think tanks for China-Africa research to contribute wisdom to exchanges and cooperations in industries, culture, and education between China and Africa. The second, relying on the Confucius Institute, establishing Luban workshops, and setting up vocational training classes to train excellent urban construction talents for cooperation enterprises in Africa. The third, expanding the education of African students in China and the master's level and developing joint doctoral training programs. The fourth is preparing to establish a regional country research center for Africa. Nigeria is a key country for Hunan's cooperation with Africa, and will also be a very key important country for our exchanges and cooperation.
Leading the Nigerian delegation is a media strategist, Charles Udogoranya, who emphasizes that increasing scholarships for Nigerian students into Chinese universities will help fill the quota China expects from Africa.
We will be pleased to see more Nigerian students admit or enroll in your university. And I believe that even though I didn't hear that in your speech, that you should be able to see possibilities of provision of scholarships in order to enable more Nigerians who have interest in studying in your university to be able to enroll.
This educational partnership is one of the ways China hopes to engage Nigerians into embracing Chinese culture, the people, and its friendship. In Changsha, Amarachi Ubani for China.
Well, there's more from China, where it's summertime, and this means thousands of people across the country are headed towards various tourist attractions, including the Great Wall.
We're about to embark on our journey to the Great Wall of China. To get to this point, we had to walk through, this really steep slope. And then we're going to take a tram car up until one of the watchtowers. We'll come down, get a good view of Beijing, get a good view of the topography, and then we'll continue the journey on foot, climbing those steep steps up to the other tower. And after that, we'll take a tram car all the way back. I'm told it is the shortest journey we can make to the Great Wall of China. It's also supposed to be the most effective. But you see, it's a really hot day in Beijing, China today. But I'm told it's the perfect weather to embark on this kind of exercise. So let's go.
Temperatures are above 30 degrees this time of the year in Beijing, and this particular summer, people are advised to keep cool as much as possible. But not even the heat could keep tourists away from the Great Wall, a mecca for adventure seekers and hike lovers. This time, instead of willfully performing the journey on foot, many are opting for the cable car. This mode of transportation almost cuts the journey in half, saving one the trouble of attempting to hike sections of the 30 million steps wonder. I had attempted climbing the wall in March 2023. It was tough then. This year, I'm in the company of colleagues from Nigeria. So, morale boosted?
So Bidemi went a little farther than I did. Yippee! He's feeling like a hero. He's terribly exhausted. Actually, I am.
Other tourists were in better spirits.
Was it tough?
Yes. We're fresh. We're doing like the first towers. Yeah.
Just the first towers.
We end our journey having had enough of walking and watching other tourists walk by.
We just walked a few miles, took some pictures, enjoyed the view, and we're finally back to where we started, at the bottom of the trip. It's challenging, but it's worth it. From the Great Wall of China, I'm Arachi Ubani, Channel Television News.
What a journey indeed. And at the Great Wall is where we end the world today. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Joke Radio. Bye for now.